So you're a fan of Atlanta United, and you can't believe we finished 2 points from the bottom?
Ugh, I can almost taste the wooden spoon. Yuck.
Well, anyone heard of Tata Martino?
Oh, the best coach in modern MLS history?
Yep, the one with a 66% win rate in MLS.
But the fans are skeptical. Did Dyla suck, or was it our talent?
Can Mickey still play? Where does Marinchuk fit? And was Latte a bust?
Stop it. I've done my homework, and I've got notes.
We're going to drink some wine and talk about it all.
I'm Mikey Dobbs.
I'm David Katz.
And I'm Carmen Butler.
And this is the ATL on Fire podcast show. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of ATL on Fire, the podcast where we talk all things Atlanta United football and all things soccer. And this evening we have an awesome guest joining us who does a lot of soccer storytelling. He is a writer for a lot of outlets that you guys are familiar with, including The Athletic, ESPN, Sports Illustrated, Yahoo Sports, and many others. And we're really...
I've heard of those places.
Oh, yeah, they are. Yeah.
Pretty well known, pretty well known.
But yeah, you know, really is able to take, a different angle with some of his stories. I would encourage you to follow him. He actually, a few years ago, was waking up at 4 a.m. and covering soccer in the MLS from Japan, has recently moved to New York in the Big Apple. He's in Brooklyn. And, recently also has started leading a company called Kickbase and is the content lead for their operations in the U.S. If you're into MLS fantasy soccer, we're going to give some time to our guest, Favian Renkel, an opportunity. Bienvenido. Welcome to the Fire, and I really appreciate you making time.
Yeah, welcome to
you. Man, that was awesome. Like you did your homework, and I appreciate that. Shout out. Yeah, please.
Hey, to be fair, I do digital marketing. I use Gemini, and I did some deep research. It's amazing what that can do.
I have to tell you, he sent us 30 pages of research on you, which I read. Actually, I used your flashcards that you made to actually.
Yeah, AI knows a lot about Fabian.
Yes.
I am shocked. No, I'm very flattered. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm on this podcast tour, going all over the country, kind of talking about almost every soccer team in MLS, even some like USL teams, No, I'm excited. I'm excited to be here, talk everything Atlanta United. I'm excited for the season that they're about to have, and I haven't been to Mercedes-Benz.
You've got to come join us. You have a ticket with us anytime you want.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
And they do a great tailgate, I have to say.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah.
Best atmosphere in the MLS. Yeah. Suck it, Seattle.
Seattle's good, though. Yeah. I got to give it to them.
So Favian, I also, in the research, I heard that you take a day off on Sunday and you don't watch any soccer or do any writing on Sundays as a way for you just to take a break and be with family and, get your mind and head straight going into the week.
Honestly, that was before.
Okay.
Nowadays, it's hard to step away at least one day. Even in the off season, you think we're not talking that much and doing many things, but we're not. We're like, this is kind of like our launch or kind of like the time where we pick it up. And it's tough. It's tough. Don't get me wrong. You still have to find time to kind of disengage. But maybe it's not a full Sunday anymore,
Sunday's the wrong day. There's a lot of footy on Sunday.
Yeah.
Maybe should have chosen like Tuesday.
Right? No, that article with NBC was written maybe about 3 years ago before we really played on Sundays. So I would say kind of that's why I said Sunday, because maybe there was one game at the time, but now there's a whole bunch of games.
Well, hey, we're super excited to have you give your perspective on Atlanta United. I think, you have some connections, as I understand, with Miami and coverage with Messi. So Tata Martino, our previous coach, is coming back. And, we'd love to get your perspective on, his move to Atlanta, maybe even some thoughts on his exit from Miami. Dave and I have had a little disagreement in terms of what's in the mainstream media of him having personal matters and taking some time off, or was it really, some things with him disagreeing with, the front office and some choices being made. So curious just to hear the Miami viewpoint and then your viewpoint of him returning to Atlanta.
Yeah, look, I'm going to start off with this story. Tata Martino looks a lot like my dad. That's kind of like the nicest way to put it. So every time my
So your
parents,
dad's really good looking and an amazing football coach.
yeah, I guess so. I
Okay.
guess so. But it's always funny to see Tata and talk to him and meet him because my dad's also a older Uruguayan man or older Argentinian man. Basically to the same cultures almost. But it's just funny because every time I see him, I always think, huh, he looks a lot like my dad. No, but it's my parents are huge Inter Miami fans, and they were big Inter Miami fans because of Tata Martino and the way he kind of made that team play well, even without Messi. They came with me to the press conference for Luis Suarez and they were just excited as to meet Tata Martino and Gregori at the time when he played for Inter Miami. But no, Tata Martino is such a good coach. I always thought the way he was treated in Miami was unfair. I thought he took that team to the highs of highs without Messi, and that's something that I haven't seen Mascherano do. I really thought that even without Messi, they looked like a great team running the way Tata Martino did, and I thought Tata Martino had a good eye for bringing young South American talent. You saw Diego Gomez kind of come into MLS and then leave within a year. So no, I'm a huge fan of Tata Martino.
For the Atlanta United fans who may not follow Miami so closely, Supporters Shield with Messi out with injury a fair part of the season, and also the Champions Cup or Leagues Cup. Sorry, I mean it was pretty impressive.
No, 100%. And the thing is, unfortunately, if you don't win an MLS Cup in MLS and you have a salary bill like that, or at least a transfer bill like that, you have to, you unfortunately are on the chopping block. And I don't think it was too fair. Yes, they shouldn't have lost in the first round to Atlanta.
Yeah, and by all objective measures of eyeballing those games, I mean, there is no reason Atlanta should have won that series.
Wait. We weren't the better team? Are you sure?
Guzan standing on his head.
Yeah. Guzan played lights out, and we were so shocked. I remember watching with my parents, like, wow, like Guzan is maybe one of the best keepers of all time. Look at this. No, but I am so happy for Tata to be back in the league. He deserves to be in MLS. He's really chasing history now. I mean, with back in Atlanta United, he can if he has a good stint with Atlanta, he could be in the upper echelon of MLS coaches. So I wish him all the best here in Atlanta, and it's so nice to see him back because what happened in Miami, it was a mutual kind of agreement, but I don't think we know,
he did the politically correct. I've got family issues.
See, Mikey Dobbs said, he was buying this stuff that Tata said about his family thing, and I'm like, no, that was a hot mess.
It could be true too,
it's a little of both, maybe.
Yeah, it could be a little of both as well. Like maybe you want to step down because of you have other important matters, and maybe you see the writing on the wall yourself, But hey, Atlanta United have a great coach now.
Yes. Yeah. And so we're obviously thrilled, like we're huge fans, but why do you think it was attractive to him to come back after it was a startup project in 2016 for him when the franchise was created? Why Atlanta United when maybe he has some other options as well?
Well, I think Atlanta United is a very attractive team to be a coach of. I mean, you play in front of 40,000, sometimes 60,000 fans, and you have the transfer budget to really go get some guys. So Arthur Blank, he takes care of Atlanta United just as well as he takes care of the Falcons, in my opinion, at least from the outside. So who wouldn't want to play or coach for a team like Atlanta United, where they should be a powerhouse in MLS, and they hopefully will be back to that.
Right, and Atlanta United obviously can spend on players and shown that in terms of being one of the bigger spenders every year in the top 3 or 4 in MLS. But, one of the things we have the luxury of is being able to spend as much money as we want on a coach, right? And so, we are optimistic last year with Ronnie Dyla coming, who at least had a pedigree of winning, in different spots. So we were really disappointed with how the season went. And a lot of people thought, it was our talent. That's not our point of view. And so curious what your perspective was with Ronnie Dyla and all the talent that we really had in our perspective. I know we had some weaknesses in the back, but just felt like, that team should have done way better than 2 points from the bottom.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's no stranger to anyone that Atlanta should have done better than what they did. I think everybody looks at this team and you see stars. Like, I know Miranchuk hasn't been the best player for you guys, but he's very capable.
He's class.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think if you get the right coach to get the motivation out of him, if you get every single guy to buy in, Almiron, if he buys in once more because maybe an old coach, an old friend fires him up again, I think you can see Latte Loth kind of just, with the rising tide, all boats rise, So I think Latte Loth is going to get back into the form that he was if this team can go ahead and get the most out of their guys and really motivate them. And I actually think they will be motivated this year. I think this is a team that is in line for a bounce back, especially under Tata. I think these guys are good enough to make a run in the playoffs, especially their star talent. There's guys in MLS that can hit the next level and truly elevate your team. And I think Miguel Almiron is that guy. You just got to awaken a beast in him, I think, in my opinion.
It's an interesting thing because in the Atlanta United, supporters amongst them, and even a lot of the MLS commentators and sports writers, there was this view that our squad was really just not competitive, right? And we watched all the games, and if you listen to our podcast all last year, we totally disagreed with that. We thought we had a ton of talent, and it was just a disaster of not clicking and the formation and how it was run. But, when Tata came in, it was interesting as a lot of people were saying, and people said, oh, it's going to take, 2 transfer windows, 3 transfer windows to modulate the team. And they asked him about this. And the first thing he said, nope, I think the team's good enough. So...
And that's high praise from a guy who's been at places like Argentina and Barcelona, right?
Yeah.
A guy who's already been at Atlanta, but definitely been at the highest of highs in terms of coaching gigs. No, I agree with Tata. I think this team is definitely good enough to not be 2 points away from the bottom. I mean, there's teams out there that have one DP. This team's roster is good, and I think it could compete. Now, are they motivated? Do they feel like they can compete? That's the biggest thing. And I think Tata solves that issue right now. There wasn't, shout out to Kevin Egan and the Atlanta World Cup kind of committee, because there's no better cameo than Tata Martino in that video announcing Atlanta Stadium being used. Yeah. I saw that. I was like, I'm ready to run through a wall for this guy.
Yeah.
This guy is cool. He brings an aura. Excuse me. This is a coach that people want to play for. This is a coach that has been able to coach Messi multiple times. I mean, this is a guy who deserves the respect of every single player. So I think a lot of Atlanta's issues are gonna be taken care of with Tata being there.
One of the things that Tata did the first time around, and maybe did in Miami, and I'm going to ask you about Miami, is that he was really famous the first time around in Atlanta for actually being the talent spotter. He brought in Almiron, right? And it was Carlos Carmona and a few other people. But anyway, I wanted to ask you about what he did at Miami in terms of bringing in players, what you thought, who he was responsible, particularly maybe you can comment about Allende. Was he part of that, or was it just Mascherano? But anyway, let me talk about what you thought about Tata in terms of spotting and helping to bring in talent at Miami.
Yeah, one of Tata's biggest things is being able to scout young South American talent. I brought up Diego Gomez before, but if you really think about it, I mean, I don't remember a lot of MLS players coming to MLS and getting a transfer out within a year, especially to the Prem. Like, that is something in its own. Another player that he used very well was Benjamin Kramaski. Maybe it wasn't a transfer in, but he got the most out of this, 18-year-old, if I'm not mistaken, at the time, where he was making the last penalty kick for Inter Miami to, lift their first Leagues Cup. This was a team that was just firing on all cylinders. Every single young South American talent was used so much more in Tata Martino's system than it was in Javier Mascherano's. For example, David Ruiz, another guy who entered to Miami under Tata, had important minutes. Leo Campana had a resurgence. I believe Leo Campana was like maybe their first overall all-time goal scorer until Messi kind of took that over. So I think with Tata, he did identify some good South American talents, but he also made the most out of the South American talents that he already had on the roster.
Do you know if Allende was Martino or whether it was Mascherano or somebody else?
Yeah, it was right in that time where it was flipping over. I don't think maybe they didn't announce Mascherano just yet before they got Allende, but Mascherano I don't think is as hands-on as Tata personally. So maybe it could have been a guy that was on the list, and then they brought him in right as Mascherano was coming in.
Yeah, and Atlanta, obviously, like Miami, there's a big Latino base here in Atlanta. So I think that's definitely going to bring some energy if we get some young talent that community obviously really follows and knows where players are coming from and gets excited. I know we've got a right back that we just signed. Is it Tomas?
Yeah, I was going to ask you about what you know about Tomas Jacob, right? So Atlanta United signed him, right? He comes from Argentina. He's 20 years old. He played already in Mexico at Necaxa. It was interesting. They signed him saying that he was a right back, right? But he comes in. We had just sold Bartosz Slisz, who was our guy in the midfield, we thought, and, was a little bit maybe misused by the previous coaches. But we thought, okay, he's going to be our anchor. Suddenly, Slisz is gone. And in the first 3 preseason matches, they have Jacob playing defensive center midfield in each of those matches. So do you know anything about him?
Yeah, look, this is a guy who was pretty outstanding at Necaxa. I feel like Necaxa had a great run in the last year's Leagues Cup where they kind of shocked some people. And his value shot up the roof once he got some playing time at Necaxa. I feel like this could be a sneaky kind of guy. I mean, usually Liga MX teams they grab like young South American talent that is on the rise and give them a chance. Maybe they didn't have that chance in Argentina, but with 14 kind of minutes and 14 games and over 1,000 minutes, Necaxa didn't do that bad last year. They actually did pretty well in Leagues Cup and in Liga MX. So no, this is a guy who maybe isn't the most flashiest of signings, but it's definitely a big opportunity for him to maybe get some growth underneath Tata Martino.
It was remarkable because we were rumored with Guido Rodriguez from West Ham. And, the deadline came and went, and he went to Valencia, right, which was, we thought maybe he was coming to Atlanta, but we thought, okay, they're definitely signing somebody to replace Slisz. And as Tata's gotten to see the team, there's been no rumors whatsoever about another midfielder. Now, maybe it's coming still with a week to go, not from Europe, but all of a sudden, Tomas apparently is the guy. Maybe he's seen enough.
Yeah, look, I think a lot of teams are kind of preparing themselves for the summer transfer window after the World Cup. Every single transfer window is going to be one where you go ahead and this after this World Cup, every single team that was here in the World Cup will see how good the facilities are, will see how crazy the fans are, and they might actually want to stay here and play in the United States to build something or to help make it really truly a league that competes. Yeah. And I think a lot of the teams around the league are actually preparing themselves with flexibility to truly make a play in that summer transfer window. And you can see that kind of league round, maybe besides Inter Miami, these teams are really preparing themselves for that transfer window with flexibility. So if Atlanta United doesn't get anybody in these next 10 days, I can definitely see them being adjusting in the midseason, really being a player in that summer transfer window.
I hope it's not us, actually. All the years I've watched the players, make a spark in the World Cup. And World Cup soccer is so much different than club soccer. And so many of these guys who make a spark in the World Cup actually really don't materialize to that level in the club. So I actually think that's maybe some faulty logic on behalf of a lot of clubs thinking that way. Because he just drives up the price from, 5-7 games, whatever it is. Some guy has an amazing run. Now you can identify guys that those countries have identified themselves and put them in a good spot and showcase them. But, I've often found that that's kind of a little bit of fool's gold, the World Cup transfer.
More or less, too, some guys are possibly cheaper because they didn't show out in the World Cup.
That's a good
the market
point.
just changes a lot.
So one of the things that hasn't happened yet that we would have liked to have seen is maybe a bigger splash in goalkeeper for Atlanta United. Hibbert, and I think we signed a new guy. Is it Hoyos? And I'm not too familiar with him. Curious on your take about the goalkeeper position at Atlanta United. That's a position that really, when you have a game changer back there, can change everything in the season. So, that's a position we'd love to see, somebody excel in. And I know Dave and I and Carmen aren't necessarily bought in with the two people that we have now.
I actually, just to brief, I thought maybe we were going to make a run at St. Clair, and we didn't. And then suddenly they brought in Hoyo, so he was their guy. So I'm curious about your thoughts.
Yeah, goalkeeper is one where you can truly kind of find a diamond in the rough looking at other teams too. So this is one where, yeah, St. Clair, of course, is the best MLS, goalkeeper and he wanted to go to Miami. He took a kind of a sweetheart deal to play in Miami. But you also don't want to overpay for goalkeepers in MLS. That's kind of the biggest thing. Unless you get a guy like Brad Guzan or a true superstar. A lot of times you see a lot of movement from goalkeepers in MLS because a lot of teams don't really like to use too much money on that position. And Tata, if you take a look at his time in Miami, had Drake Callender, right?
Yeah.
So he kind of made the most of what he had. And really, Drake Callender has some crazy saves in their League Cup runs. So I think with Tata not really wanting to spend maybe the budget with the goalkeeper, I think this may be kind of uncharted waters for Atlanta United, right? Because you've always had Guzan for so long. But I still think you need to see what you can get from your guys first, and then you kind of adjust in the summer because it's not going to make a big splash there. You kind of have to wait it out a bit.
I also don't know whether the club and Tata has evaluated Jaden Hibbert, who played at the end of the season, as legit, and maybe Hoyos is a little bit of a placeholder veteran presence to bring him along. And, might see Hoyos at the beginning, and then, 5-7 games into the season, you might see Jaden Hibbert.
Yeah, well, competition's always good, right? Like, you want every single position to have two capable players. And bringing in a guy who is capable is always going to get the best out of the starter, right? So, I love goalkeeper competition. But again, if these guys don't work out, expect Atlanta to be looking around the league for goalkeepers because there's going to be goalkeepers available for sure.
Yeah, now last year we knew even going into 2025, our center back positions were maybe not the strongest, with particularly Williams and Abram. With them getting so many minutes last year, particularly Abram, we were shocked that some necessary changes weren't made, even, when the writing was on the wall that it wasn't getting done. So we've got some new players coming in, Dave.
Yeah, towards the end of the season, we brought in Ania Mihaj, a Greek guy from Portugal, and Juan Barracal from Getafe in La Liga, both 27 years old. I think is a major upgrade over Luis Abram and over Derek Williams. Any of your thoughts?
Yeah, look, anytime you bring a guy from La Liga or the Portuguese league, the quality is going to be at a different level, right? Something about bringing guys in that have that type of experience, especially on your back line, it adds a lot to your team. A lot of teams in MLS really kind of just throw out guys from the MLS Super Draft. For example, a team that I've covered very well, the San Jose Earthquakes, love doing that, So this is something where you're going to have experienced players in the back. And hey, maybe this makes up a little bit for the goalkeeper not being a superstar like Guzan. You have guys who have played against Barcelona, Real Madrid, guys who have played against the best of the best in the world. And that, in a back line, that experience is invaluable, in my opinion.
We also offloaded Brooks Lennon, who was a very controversial figure around here, tremendous going forward, and we thought really weak as an actual defender in the back. It's surprising to me that he, despite all that, it's surprising to me that he hasn't really been, coveted in MLS. I think he thought maybe he's going to have a bidding war or whatever. DC gave him a trial, but I don't know if you have any insight into that.
Yeah, look, Brooks Lennon not having a team is a little shocking to me too. I would have expected at least to be on a team that he can play some sort of minutes for. I know I'm looking at, again, a team like the San Jose Earthquakes, 100% they could use a guy like Brooks Lennon. Now, can they afford the rate that he probably wants? Maybe not, and that's probably why there's a holdup there. But no, there's definitely plenty, like a boatload of teams that still need outside back depth in MLS and could use a guy like Brooks Lennon to come on in the 70th minute when they need a goal.
Maybe you can comment on this too. So the downside of being Atlanta United and having Arthur Blank as their owner, we're paying really high salaries. Whenever they release the salaries, which is not always guaranteed, we're really surprised. Like Tiare was on a huge buttload salary. And one of the things that does is it kind of limits us to being a European selling club, right, as opposed to an inter MLS. So maybe you can comment about that and, sort of the inter MLS transfer aspects.
Yeah, look, something big that actually just happened was now in MLS, you can loan players to other MLS clubs no matter what the age. Before, it used to be under the age of 25. And I think that helps if you have a large kind of salary player and you're trying to offload him to another team. Maybe you take on some of the salary and then open up some salary as well. That's totally possible now for Atlanta United. But teams that struggle with that a lot are actually Liga MX teams. A lot of times, Liga MX teams struggle with selling their players because they're just so happy here. They make so much money in Mexico. They're superstars in Mexico. What's the point of them going to Europe, learning a language they don't know, being a quote unquote nobody? You might, and this I can kind of see happening in Atlanta. I mean, you guys are having such a big party down there every time you play under those bright lights at Mercedes-Benz. Why would you leave?
I agree. Why would you leave our fair city?
I know. So, Dave, I'll let you extrapolate on our midfield, but this is, I think, where we've certainly got some question marks on where things will pan out. We mentioned that Tomas is seemingly playing in kind of that central defensive spot. We've got Riley, Gill, Muyumba, and is it Alzate? Who is Alzate from Hull City?
Alzate. We transferred from Hull City at the middle of the last season. It was an interesting guy because he had played under Dyla in Belgium. He was clearly a Dyla guy, and he came in, and I don't know. He didn't light it up. Like, he's supposed to be more of a box to box, kind of possession kind of guy. Maybe split the lines. And he struggled to, it was only in mid-season, but he struggled really to bed in with the team.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough coming in mid-season and having a stellar season with the season that Atlanta United was already having, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't think you can truly kind of put it on him for that season. I think this is going to be the season where you can truly rate him because he's going to have a fair shot at making a difference with this team. It reminds me a lot of this player in the Galaxy called Sanabria, and they brought him in, and they were really bad. And it was like, how do you rate him at all if he comes into a situation every single day in the locker room? Whatever you do on the field isn't going to affect the impact of the team or in the future. So as a normal person, that is so hard to do, in my opinion, to have that stellar attitude, even though you're getting, crushed every single day. So with the new hope, with the new coach, and with in Spanish we say con toda la alma, with all the confidence, I think he should have a better season this year, or you find out who he truly is.
It's funny, a lot of the supporters in Atlanta have criticized the club. They say it's club culture that's brought us down or whatever. We actually have felt that, the club has routinely brought in quality players. We've had a series of players that came and even left, like guys like Thiago Almada, Marcelino Moreno, Araujo, Yakamakis. I mean, we've had some terrific players, and, I feel like the club culture is a little bit overused. Like, a good coach, a good team, like, can suddenly, because you can see it sometimes when there's supposedly a bad culture, and then sometimes a coach drops in who's amazing, and then like overnight it changes, and you say, okay, is that really the culture, or is it you just have a guy who's better at using what he has?
I truly think that Atlanta does have something good cooking. I mean, I truly think Atlanta is something special in terms of the amount of sheer love the city has for the team, with the amount of sheer fandom that people scream for their players and really truly fill out a NFL-sized stadium sometimes. That is irreplaceable, I think, for any player. I mean, I think, yes, you can kind of have a bad attitude and everything, but I truly think if you have that concoction of fans and really support through a city, if you have the right guy come in, I think it just elevates the whole city and it elevates the whole area. Instead of having, I know this is going to sound like some juju stuff, but instead of having, bad juju around, you have good juju around and optimism. And that actually matters in players, I think. I think their attitudes going into training every single day, having some deal of hope or some, good attitude about everything that's going on, I do think that a coach can actually change everything overnight. But a fan culture is needed to do that too.
Yeah, I think, with Tata coming back and our familiarity with him and knowing what he's capable of, I think there's going to be some really solid energy after 7 years of us being on a decline here. And us starting a podcast in 2019, thinking that was a good idea. And
we thought it was going to be like that all the time.
All the time. And then we went to Mikey Dobbs swearing he was going to cancel the podcast.
Yeah.
He was like, this is it.
I was hanging on by an ember, Fabian.
So one critique that we have, I thought maybe you could comment on. It's really not, it's a small kind of thing. But one thing that we've had about our supporters is that we have such a vocal supporters group, but like they have the same exact chant at the exact same moment in the game every single time. And they don't actually have individual players very much. It's all very Atlanta United, in some things. I'm curious, since you've been around the league, you've seen other fan bases, is this a critique of MLS in general? Like, we were laughing because, Miguel Almiron was a legend here, 2 years, won the title.
How do we not have a song for
We did not
Miggy?
have a song for Miggy.
Something simple.
And then he shows up in Newcastle, and the first game they have a song for him.
Yeah, that's a very English kind of fandom. At least I've seen. A lot of times the stadiums I go to, it's very Latino based, so they kind of go with the Latino ultra kind of way. For example, Esta noche no vamos a ganar. Like that one is very famous for a lot of Latino clubs, and LAFC kind of uses it for themselves. But no, I haven't seen LAFC actually sing too much about players, and they've had superstars come in, right? So no, I think around the league we get more of this kind of like, I don't want to say cookie cutter, but
maybe you can write an article about this.
Yeah. We think there's a huge opportunity for the MLS culture, whether it's, bringing in the Latino vamos, ATL. Like, that's great. Like, that's more of a simple thing. It doesn't have to be
Esta noche tenemos que ganar.
Yeah, exactly.
So we would love if there was a little more flavor, though, wherever it's coming from, in terms of the cookie cutter stuff that we love, the supporter sections in Atlanta, but like I would love some like fresh energy from them and from like what I'm seeing in the league in general. Also, we have to kind of take a look at it, an English game, right? You get guys who are peeled to the pitch, right? Like not even a single food item in their hand, like peeled. It's a different kind of experience at an American soccer game where it's a little more family friendly. Maybe there's a 5-year-old that wants to start singing, and they unfortunately don't know the new goalkeeper for Atlanta United. It's pretty easy for them to kind of sing along, and I think that's why a lot of supporters or groups, at least, they kind of side on the edge or side on the side of easily sung songs. But I also don't want to just, write an article, hammering on no, that's fair, right?
Well, I think we were thinking about writing an op-ed in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution about this, but being in a positive way, like this can do this, like can we do this, like it's a positive thing. The other thing I think is funny, like in England, one funny way about it is many of the traditional tunes for years and years were American Civil War hymns, right? They were to the tune of American Civil War, so there's this weird history about it too.
Yeah, look, I mean, it is kind of interesting that there isn't more. I mean, there should be a lot more kind of soccer names into songs, but now that I'm thinking about like Seattle kind of just does Seattle. It's not like very Jordan Morris, it's and there are a lot of English fans in Seattle and it's still very Americanized.
Yeah, but even like I do think like even in the U.S. culture, like getting behind a player like Miggy or whoever your DPs are, right, and star players. Like I think
Actually, they do have one for Messi. They do have one for Messi.
Well,
yeah.
See, that's what we need to bring in.
But,
people think we brought him in for his
sorry.
footballing. They brought him in to change the culture.
but let me tell you this: you guys should take the Miggy one from Newcastle. Like what?
Yeah.
Like why not?
Steal
Fair.
it. Will they even know? Let's just take it.
Well, nowadays, the other thing that's so crazy about it is with AI and ChatGPT, it takes like 2 seconds to make up a song, right? Like, come on. Like, it's the most easy thing in the world.
Let's get one. Let's just make some for every single team, and if they use it, they use it.
I don't
like
know if
that.
you know
I
this,
like
but
that.
actually the one chant that is unique to us, we are the A from way down south. Right, that song
that's
was
a great
actually invented by supporters in the supporters group walking into the stadium on the very first game at Bobby Dodd because Mercedes-Benz wasn't even open yet. So we started it out but it petered off after that.
Like LAFC has this like theme song that they put on that's pretty crazy. I don't know if you guys ever heard it, but like it's a theme song that they put on before a match, and it's like it's like a trumpet, and then it's pretty. I don't know. It to me at least it gives you chills. It's like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, and then when a Mexican team comes into town, and it's like, whoa, these guys actually are kind of intimidating.
They do this too, like at Liverpool, "She'll Never Walk Alone," and at Manchester City, they do the.
I don't know. I will not say.
So Fabian, back to the Atlanta squad. Going to the back line. On the right, we've got Hernandez and who we believe is going to be Matt Edwards, who young kid has a lot of promise. I really was excited. We talked about it last year. It was refreshing from my perspective to see a young guy step up and challenge. Like one of our critiques during the Pineda years was particularly our back fullbacks did not pressure up, close the space, and play defense to put in a tackle or make him turn around and pass the ball backwards. With Matt Edwards, who's young, he's making some mistakes and he'll get beat. I love the fact that he was aggressive and you saw some real defensiveness from him. So curious your thoughts on Ronald Hernandez and maybe Matt Edwards as our right backs.
Yeah, look, I mean, going into all the time when you kind of go into something new, there's going to be letdowns, unfortunately. When you're having a couple of new guys in your roster, there's going to be a moment where they have to gel. And with Edwards kind of having at least 14 games last year, at least he has some sort of kind of idea, maybe the guys in front of him, how they're going to play. But I think you have the chemistry between the center backs and the winger for the outside back is key. Now, is Hernandez going to be there because of maybe the Spanish speaking with the center backs? Can Edwards, go ahead and at least, find some chemistry in certain ways? Like a lot of players usually say they don't need to talk Spanish. They could just, talk ball. I think the biggest thing is always chemistry on the back line. So it'll be interesting to see how Edwards does with this new center back pairing, in my opinion.
The other thing I was going to ask you about, so Atlanta United in our history has not actually been very good at developing our own talent, right? When we have developed our own talent, it has basically only been at outside back. I mean, Bello and Wiley are the two names that really come to mind. But then even like the other guys who came through our system, George Campbell and Miles Robinson, all on the back line. So I wanted to comment to you about, if you could maybe comment about our MLS development of American players in general. Maybe even you can throw in the new guy that we added, Gil, who is another American player. But the idea about whether or not MLS are doing a good job of developing players or just importing South American players.
Yeah, Atlanta's, what's funny is you talk to, Atlanta United fan, and they bring up that they haven't been able to produce talent, but you guys have been able to buy talent, no problem. And I think it's like,
and we have bought young and sold higher, Almada and things like that have been young.
Yeah, I mean, Thiago Almada is a superstar, right? It's shocking to me that you get other teams like, okay, let me say this. Atlanta hasn't had to kind of develop too much talent. And they develop the guys that they bring in when they buy them. But other teams like the San Jose Earthquakes, Philadelphia Union, Seattle Sounders, they have to do that to stay competitive. And this is kind of like a double-edged sword. If you're able to buy great talents and sell great talents, maybe you're not looking too closely at the kind of instruments that are in MLS just yet. And I think you actually named off a couple of guys that have already kind of come up the ranks in Atlanta, like Caleb Wiley and Miles Robinson, who are great players. But it's hard to churn out guys constantly like the Philadelphia Union. I mean, personally, I always think the Philadelphia Union are going to be better every year, because
We thought that last year for sure.
And they all of a sudden win a supporters shield, right? So
Yeah.
it is very shocking because I covered basically the Philadelphia Union of the West and the San Jose Earthquakes, and they never, are able to win anything with that type of mentality. So I think a lot of fans, if you ask them, would you rather be a Philadelphia Union or an Atlanta United? I think they're gonna say Atlanta United, even though they've never or they've had big players come out, just it's not too consistent.
So Favian, right now is a super exciting time in it being a soccer fan in the U.S. We've got the World Cup coming to the U.S. Major League Soccer is going to make a shift to the European schedule. You've covered this league for a while. Just curious of like your optimism around MLS. You touched on it a minute ago, but what are your thoughts around the player quality, the teams, and just overall optimism?
Yeah, look, I'm the most bullish person on MLS in the world, I think. I think this league is a gem if you really sit down and watch some games. I think this league is severely underrated when it comes to the amount of talent that's in it with the salary restrictions that are in this league. I mean, you're telling me that we compete every single year with Liga MX teams. And if you look at a Liga MX roster, they have 17 DPs on it.
Yeah.
And we're competing with them with only 3 and maybe some U22s or some young DPs and really making the most out of every single player on the roster. So for that, I think MLS is really punching above its weight. And once they really let the shackles come off of MLS in terms of the salary cap, I think this league is set for maybe one of the best leagues in the world in the next 20 to 30 years.
Would you be in favor of them releasing that now? I mean, I know for MLS for a long time, like literally it was 8 teams and all the Florida teams folded, right? And so like it was like nip and tuck whether it was going to actually make it, right? So the thing that really helped make it was the salary cap and restricting people from going nuts. But now do you think it's established enough they should just open up the floodgates?
I personally do think MLS is too big to fail at this point. I think you have these crazy investors, you have these crazy valuations. I mean, I think it just came out that Inter Miami is $1.4 billion, and then Sporting Kansas City was sold for $700 million or something like that. So these are some crazy numbers.
Yeah, we're valued as just below Miami at 1.2 or 3 billion.
Seriously.
And Messi's scratching his head on these restrictions, right? And he's probably the biggest supporter of pulling back the restraints as well. So I don't know if you have any insights on like what his influence is with.
He just wants to bring
MLS
his whole Barcelona team.
Yeah, but as somebody who's now invested in the league, right? Like Messi has some serious influence on, what is the time frame for maybe this dream coming true?
Yeah, look, I'm going to answer what I think is the first question real quick. What I think would help the league is a floor. I think a floor right now in the next 2 years would help the league grow a lot. And you can't have teams like the Earthquakes rolling out there with one DP or the Rapids kind of doing it with one DP. You have to create a floor to make sure that the standard in the league doesn't get too far off for parity, okay? And then I think, why is there no 4th DP yet? If you take a look, like, why?
Yeah.
Like, why not?
I thought that was definitely going to happen like last year. I thought, that was definitely going to be one of the rules that was announced. But
if you take a look at Jordi Alba's contract, he was a TAM player for the first 2 years and then a DP in his last year. In my opinion, Inter Miami thought there was going to be a fourth DP because then he would become that fourth DP
Right.
in that third year. So when that didn't happen, it was kind of like, well, you make a lot of money, are you going to retire? It was thought about, like there was a conversation about it. But in terms of Messi and his influence in the league and his vocal influence when it comes to the salary cap, Messi doesn't do many interviews. But when he does interviews, he actually it's very medical or surgical with his interviews. I mean, he goes, if I'm not mistaken, he went on NBC to talk about the salary. Yeah. And I was kind of laughing because I was like, hey, man, wrong audience, like I don't think anybody on, nightly news with Lester Holt really cares about the salary cap of MLS. But, it was a good effort. Just, maybe you should talk to like so every time there's an MLS Cup, there's an owners meeting. Like maybe go to the owners meeting and kind of say that.
Makes sense.
Because I don't know if they're watching the nightly news either.
Do you think there's any thing to the rumor that Cristiano Ronaldo would be heading to the MLS?
So that one's tough because we all know that Ronaldo has this certain thing that happened in 2013 in Las Vegas.
Right.
And it's that's a tough question because
But supposedly the statute of limitations has run out. Maybe no.
Yeah, and I hate to say it, but if that's the case, then maybe one day he could be in the United States. But a lot of people say that he's not really looking too good at Al Nassr these days. Maybe this would be, I don't know, like he's at that age where it's like maybe he wants to go back to his club where he started and kind of really call it. But I just don't see Ronaldo coming here just because of what he did in the past. And I think that would just be the tabloids, the number one story, I think, just in his face constantly about that.
Do you think that MLS is a better league than Saudi Arabia? I know and ask you to directly compare things.
Maybe the top of Saudi Arabia is better. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, Al Hilal. They just got Karim Benzema. I mean, they have Darwin Nunez not even signed up for their team. And me being Uruguayan, that one hurts, dude. Atlanta, go get him. Oh, what are you doing? Tata, go get him. No, but I think throughout MLS, it's better than the Saudi league. But maybe the top 5 Saudi teams are better than the top 5 MLS teams.
So, question around MLS and your viewpoints and predictions on what's going to happen in 2026. I know it's early, but would love to hear your opinion on, where you think Atlanta United should maybe finish this season and maybe some teams to look out for. Who are your top teams that you think are going to be most competitive in MLS in 2026?
Yeah, look, Atlanta United is in a tough predicament, to be honest. Yes, they have the talent. Yes, they have everything to kind of have a successful season. It's just the Eastern Conference is loaded. I mean, you take a look at the teams in the East, and I want to say Philly's not going to do it again, but somehow they're always in there.
They're not going to do it again.
I have no idea. Cincinnati's going to be in there. Columbus might have a little bit of a drop off, but not too much because they still have that core together. Miami is going to be Miami, and then you kind of take a look at the New York teams. Like, will the New York teams do anything? Who knows? But I truly can see Atlanta United kind of sitting in a 5th or 6th position. I think they should into the playoffs with Tata Martino and the 3 DPs they have. In my opinion, they should be sitting in a playoff match at the end of the MLS season, but a play-in match wouldn't be a bad season either.
Okay.
So, yeah, I was more in your camp, like 5 or 6, I think, in our last discussion here.
I'm going to take the over.
Carmen and Dave are a little more optimistic.
Barely. Like 4.
Well.
Like 4 is where I'd put us.
Yeah, I'm a hopeless optimistic, so I think I said 3. Yeah. I think I said 3. Yeah, that's right.
3, okay.
We got a range of 3 to 6.
Yeah.
I know Miami, I mean, goodness gracious, what's his Bergeron, from Mexico. Yeah, coming from Mexico, adding that to Messi, that's ridiculous. Now, maybe I'll just briefly ask you, all of the MLS fans in general, not us, actually have this conspiracy that Miami's allowed to have 6 DPs. What did you say to that?
So if you take a look at all their transfers, like one by one, and maybe not look at them all together, it makes sense to me. One thing Miami's done very well with Messi is they've been able to get the most out of every single player when they're transferring them out to other MLS teams. So guys like DeAndre Yedlin, they got a crazy lump sum for. Guys like Drake Callender, they got a crazy lump of GAM. Guys like Leo Campana got a historic number of GAM. They were able to kind of sell all these regular MLS guys for a lot of GAM, which a lot of other teams can't, right? So there you have kind of this, I would say this load of GAM that you're already kind of sitting above other teams. And then you have transfers out like Diego Gomez and all these other things. But then on top of that, you get all these guys taking sweetheart deals. St. Clair took less money to be there. If you take a look at David Ayala, that transfer, it's a cash for, you can pay whatever you want. It just goes towards the salary, but it's a U22. So you can pay a U22 whatever you want. And David Ayala is technically on a 1-year deal, but you're so bullish as Inter Miami because why wouldn't he re-sign with you? You don't really care if he doesn't re-sign a contract this year. You're going to wait till the free agency, and then he's probably going to want to come back to play with Messi even more. You get a guy like Suarez back on a very cheap deal. You get Mikael coming back as a TAM player. You get Betarama as a third DP. That's pretty normal. You pay $18 million for a DP, no problem. But the one that sticks out to people the most is Tadeo Allende. And I'm going to say this, and I've been saying this all this podcast tour because this is the number one question. Tadeo Allende is just a regular La Liga player when he's in Spain. Maybe he gets to walk around. Maybe he gets to be a normal person. When he won that championship with Miami, and when he made a historic playoff cup run, MLS Cup run, he had a line of 100 people at Dick's Sporting Goods to sign autographs.
At Dick's, whoa.
If you're just a normal guy, but now you're a historic guy in Miami, the worst city in the world, I would never want to live there.
Yeah.
No,
Even Messi was able to shop at Publix or wherever it was and not get too bombarded when he came into town.
But if you're going ahead and getting all of that, you're getting the fanfare, everything. Wouldn't you take kind of a sweetheart deal too?
Yeah.
And I think they kind of looked at Tadeo Allende and say, "Hey, man, we want you back. I know you want to be back, but you're going to have to take a pay cut." And that's how I think they got it, under the legal line is by him taking a pay cut to be back in Miami.
Well, hey, I want to be respectful of your time. I think you got to continue your podcasting tour after this, but wanted to A, say thank you, and B, let the people know kind of what you got going on with Kickbase and what that whole MLS platform is like, and any other things you want to share with our audience here.
Yeah, look, thank you so much for having me on. This was a blast. It really flew by. I am now at Kickbase USA, and this is the new home of MLS Fantasy. So if you've ever played MLS Fantasy in the past, Kickbase is now the new home where you can line up MLS players and kind of play fun challenges and truly have a great time with your friends. I'm excited to be here because I'm a huge fantasy football guy, and honestly, fantasy MLS needs to be there for the league to grow. So I'm on a project that I feel very passionate about, and if you are an MLS fan, you should definitely download this and try to help it grow, and maybe invite your friends, talk a little smack, right? That's the best part of fantasy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We're going to download it right
maybe
after
we
the
could
show.
have the ATL on Fire Fantasy. Carmen, Mikey Dowds versus me.
Yeah.
Oh,
There you go.
bet line.
Yeah, it's going to be a great project. We're going to work closely with MLS and the players and get a whole bunch of content out for you too, because I'm head of content over here. So I know we're going to have a lot of fun things to do. We already shot some things. I'll give you some things. We're gonna have like some content where it looks very similar to The League or The Office, and it's all about like punishments for fantasy.
Yeah, those are fun.
I love
I
those.
may have had to dress up a lot of times, and I'm a very serious guy. You can tell.
Yeah. Us as well. Yeah.
All right, so then let us know, right? So is it all the Atlanta United players overpriced in your fantasy or no? Like, come
It might
on.
be underpriced. Right? They perform. So you may be able to sneak some guys in.
Sounds good.
Well, Favian, thank you so much for joining. Seriously, if you're ever in Atlanta, we'd love to watch a match with you, and we'd love to have you on the show again in the future.
No, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on. Go Atlanta United, right? Let's
Yes.
get this.
Yay.
No, it's been a pleasure. And of course, I would love to see a game with you guys and the 60,000 that are there. Let's go.
Heck yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing.
It's a great place. Well, thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Take care. All right. So that was awesome.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. So we're what, 54 minutes in? We're still live right now, Dave. You wanna keep talking? Or?
I thought we were done.
No. I mean we can shut it down. I thought that was a great interview. We should definitely have Favian on in the future.
Yes.
It's great.
Make it a regular thing.
Perspective.
Make it on the regular.
And I think you were right on the whole Tata exit from Miami. I got it. I do admit when I'm wrong.
We didn't bet that one though.
Yeah.
Does it kind of count like a bet? Does he still owe me a bottle of wine?
I think you just got to take, pride on that one.
Right.
Yes.
Pride,
So yeah, what else do we want to talk about to close this out? Any other things? So when's the season opener in Atlanta? It's not till March,
we
right?
we play this Saturday and next Saturday on the road, opening up Cincinnati this following Saturday. Not this.
Okay.
Not we are coming to you on Thursday. Not this Saturday. Not the 14th, but a week on the 21st. It's the first game at Cincinnati, and then we play on the road again, and then home game after that. So I think we're going to try for our audience to have our MLS, season preview maybe coming to you somewhere in there before our home opener.
All right. Well, I think we should dance it out with some Danny Rojas, right?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, let's
Just
do
like
it.
back in Guadalajara, you say it, I do it, coach. Football is life.
Football is life.
Life.
All right. Thanks everybody for listening. No.
Danny Rojas, Danny Rojas, Danny Rojas.
Thanks, Carmen. You killed it.